The last rays of sunset painted the wasteland in shades of amber and crimson, casting long shadows across the remnants of a forgotten civilization. Iris watched from her hiding place among the twisted metal ruins as the village below came to life with the warm glow of oil lamps and salvaged solar panels. Her heterochromatic eyes, one deep blue like the ocean she'd never seen, the other an iridescent violet that seemed to capture the light differently, scanned the settlement with a mixture of longing and apprehension. 30 years had passed since the revelation, the day alien artifacts had been unearthed and subsequently activated, changing the face of the earth forever. What followed was neither total destruction nor salvation, but a strange melding of worlds. The civilization that emerged from the ashes was a patchwork of primitive survival and advanced technology that few understood how to use. Iris had never known the world before. She had been born in the aftermath, a child of two worlds that should never have met. Her mother had died during childbirth, and the village midwife who delivered her had screamed in horror at the sight of the translucent patches of skin along her arms and the faint luminescent veins that pulsed beneath. Even as an infant, Iris had been marked as different, dangerous. Abomination, the village elder had called her, a reminder of what happens when boundaries are crossed. She touched the ridge of small crystalline formations that ran along her spine, hidden beneath her tattered cloak. The formations had grown with her, becoming more pronounced as she aged. Now, at 17, she could no longer hide what she was becoming. Iris had learned to survive on the fringes, scavenging what she needed and staying invisible. The village of Meridian was the closest thing to civilization for hundreds of miles, nestled at the border where the great desert met the encroaching jungle. Two ecosystems warped and fused by the alien influence that had reshaped parts of the earth. A commotion at the village gate drew her attention. 3 rugged vehicles, their frames a mishmash of pre-revelation design and makeshift modifications, rolled into the central square. Men and women disembarked, their bodies adorned with a combination of tactical gear and tribal markings. Hunters. Iris had heard stories about them, mercenaries who tracked down and captured anything alien or hybrid for the highest bidder. She shrank deeper into the shadows, her pulse quickening. Something told her these weren't ordinary hunters passing through. They moved with purpose, their leader gesturing authoritatively as they spoke with Fiona, the village chief, even from a distance. Iris could see the tension in Fiona's posture, the way her hands clenched at her sides. Curiosity overcame caution. Iris crept closer, navigating the edge of the settlement until she reached an abandoned watchtower that offered both concealment and a vantage point. The hunters had gathered the villagers, and their leader, a tall woman with half her head shaved and intricate circuitry tattoos running down her neck, was addressing the crowd. "The consortium pays well for specimens," the woman announced, her voice carrying in the evening stillness. "Especially the rare ones. We know there's been unusual activity in this region, sightings, anomalies. We're not leaving until we find what we came for." Fiona stepped forward, her weathered face impassive. "We have nothing of value here, Alice, just struggling people trying to survive." Alice, the hunter leader, smiled without warmth. "Then you won't mind if we conduct a thorough search. The consortium's research requires diverse samples, children included." A ripple of fear passed through the crowd. Iris felt her stomach turn. She had heard whispers of the consortium, a powerful organization that had risen from the remnants of pre-revelation governments and corporations. They controlled what remained of advanced technology and were rumored to experiment on alien specimens and hybrids alike, seeking to harness their power. "The children are off limits," Fiona stated firmly, though Iris could hear the undertone of fear in her voice. Alice's smile widened. Nothing is off limits when survival is at stake. The consortium's work benefits humanity. Sacrifices must be made. Iris watched in growing horror as the hunters began moving through the crowd, examining people with handheld devices that emitted a soft blue light. When they approached a group of children playing near the communal well, something inside her shifted. These were the same children who had thrown stones at her, who had been taught to fear and hate her kind. Yet seeing them cowering now, their small faces contorted with fear, awakened something protective in her. One of the hunters grabbed a young boy by the arm, and the scanner in his hand pulsed with increased intensity. "This one shows trace anomalies," he called out. "Take him," Alice ordered, "and the others nearby. Better to be thorough." The children's screams pierced the twilight as the hunters began rounding them up. Parents rushed forward only to be held back at gunpoint. Iris felt her breathing accelerate, her heartbeat thundering in her ears. The crystalline formations along her spine began to warm, a sensation she had experienced only in moments of extreme stress. "No one has ever stood up for me," she thought. "But that doesn't mean I can't stand up for them." Before she could reconsider, Iris was moving. She vaulted from her hiding place, her cloak billowing behind her as she landed in the village square. For a moment, everything froze, the hunters, the villagers. Even time itself seemed to pause as all eyes turned to her. "Let them go," Iris demanded, her voice stronger than she had expected. Alice stepped forward, her eyes widening with interest as she took in Iris's appearance. Well, what have we here?" She raised her scanner, which immediately began to emit a high-pitched whine, its display flashing red. "Jackpot!" "I said, let them go." Iris stood her ground, though her heart threatened to burst from her chest. The hunter leader made a signal, and two of her companions moved toward Iris, weapons raised. "You're in no position to make demands, hybrid, but I'm curious. What exactly are you willing to offer in exchange for these ordinary brats?" The implication was clear. Iris glanced at the terrified children, then at the equally frightened villagers. These people had never shown her kindness, had driven her mother to the outskirts, and left Iris to fend for herself after her death. Yet here she was, ready to sacrifice herself for them. "Me," she answered, "I'll go willingly if you release them all." A triumphant smile spread across Alice's face. "Noble, but unnecessary. We'll take you and any others that might be of value." She nodded to her hunters. "Secure the hybrid, priority 1. As the hunters advanced, Iris felt something inside her shift. The warmth along her spine intensified, spreading through her body like liquid fire. She had never intentionally used the abilities that came with her hybrid nature, had spent her life hiding them, fearing them. But now, with innocent lives at stake, instinct took over. She raised her hands, and light erupted from her palms, not the harsh glare of weapons, but a soft, pulsing radiance that seemed to bend the very air around it. The nearest hunters stumbled back, their equipment shorting out in bursts of sparks. "What the—" Alice began, but Iris was already moving. With a speed she didn't know she possessed, she darted between the hunters, touching their weapons, which immediately malfunctioned. The children, seeing their opportunity, broke free and ran to their parents. Chaos erupted as villagers scrambled for safety and hunters tried to regroup. Iris felt a sharp pain in her shoulder and turned to find Alice standing a few meters away, a sleek pistol aimed at her. "Valuable specimen or not, I won't be made a fool of," the hunter snarled. Before she could fire again, a figure tackled Alice from behind. They went down in a tangle of limbs, the gun skittering across the ground. Iris caught a glimpse of her unexpected ally, a man with a scarred face and intense eyes, dressed in the practical garb of a desert traveler. "Run!" he shouted at Iris. "Northeast tunnel system, second junction, go!" Iris hesitated for only a second before sprinting toward the edge of the village. Behind her, she could hear Alice screaming orders and the sound of the hunters' vehicles roaring to life. As she reached the outskirts, she glanced back to see the stranger breaking away from the fray, heading in a different direction. She had no reason to trust him, but she had even less reason to stay. With the hunters on her trail and the village no longer safe, Iris plunged into the darkness beyond, her path illuminated only by the faint glow of her own skin. The tunnel system was a relic of the pre-revelation world, part of an old mining operation that had been abandoned and later expanded during the chaos that followed. Iris had explored parts of it during her solitary wanderings but had never ventured deep into its labyrinthine passages. Now, with the sounds of pursuit echoing behind her, she pushed forward, counting junctions as she went. At the second junction, she paused, listening. The tunnel split in 3 directions, and she had no idea which path to take. Just as panic began to rise in her throat, a soft blue light appeared in the leftmost passage. It pulsed once, twice, then disappeared. Trusting her instincts, the same instincts that had kept her alive all these years, Iris followed the light. The tunnel narrowed, then opened into a cavernous space that took her breath away. It had once been a natural cave, but someone had transformed it into a living space of sorts. Salvaged technology lined the walls, illuminated by the same soft blue light she had followed. Makeshift furniture, books, and what appeared to be laboratory equipment filled the space. "Close the door behind you," came a voice from the shadows. "The field will activate and mask your presence." The stranger from the village stepped into the light, up close. Iris could see that his face was not just scarred, but burned. The skin on the left side puckered and discolored. Despite this, his eyes were kind, if wary. "You're the one who helped me," Iris said, her voice echoing slightly in the cave. "Why?" The man gestured to a heavy metal door, which Iris pulled shut. A faint hum filled the air, and the crystalline formations along her spine tingled in response. "Because I've spent too long watching and doing nothing," he replied. "My name is Lucas, former humanitarian engineer, current desert hermit." His gaze traveled over her face, then down to her arms, where the translucent patches of skin glowed faintly. "And you're exactly what they're looking for." Iris tensed, ready to flee again if necessary. "Are you going to turn me in?" Lucas shook his head. "If I wanted that, I wouldn't have tackled their leader, would I?" He moved to a workbench and began gathering supplies, bandages, a bottle of clear liquid, what looked like medical instruments. "You're hurt. Let me help." Only then did Iris register the pain in her shoulder where Alice's shot had grazed her. She approached cautiously, still not entirely trusting. "I've never seen anyone stand up to the hunters like that." Lucas continued as he prepared to treat her wound. "Especially not for people who, I'm guessing, haven't been kind to you." Iris winced as he cleaned the injury. "How did you know?" "I've been observing Meridian for months. I've seen how they treat outsiders, how they would treat someone like you." He applied a bandage with practiced efficiency. "What you did was brave, stupid, but brave." "They were going to take children," Iris said simply. Lucas's expression softened. "Yes, they were. The consortium has been getting bolder with their collection efforts, especially since rumors started spreading about a new kind of hybrid, one with unprecedented abilities." His eyes met hers. "Rumors about someone like you." The implication hung in the air between them. Iris felt exposed, vulnerable in a way that had nothing to do with her physical injuries. "What do you know about me?" she asked finally. Lucas gestured around the cave. "I've spent the last 5 years studying the aftermath of the revelation. Before that, I was part of a humanitarian mission to help those affected by it." His voice took on a bitter edge. "We failed, spectacularly. and I've been trying to understand why ever since." He walked to a wall covered in maps, diagrams, and photographs. "2 months ago, I started picking up unusual energy signatures in this region, the same kind of energy that was released during the revelation, but different, focused. And then I saw you." Iris followed his gaze to a grainy photograph pinned to the wall. It showed her standing at the edge of the desert, her back to the camera, the crystalline formations on her spine clearly visible as she had removed her cloak to feel the sun. "You've been watching me," she said, anger rising in her voice. "Observing," Lucas corrected. "From a distance, I needed to be sure." "Sure of what?" He turned to face her fully. "That you're the bridge, the living connection between our world and whatever came through during the revelation." Iris stepped back, shaking her head. "I'm just a hybrid, a mistake. That's what everyone has always told me." "And you believed them?" Lucas asked softly. "Iris, do you even know what you can do? What you just did in the village was barely scratching the surface." The sound of her name startled her. "How do you know my name?" "I heard the village children when they were throwing stones and calling you names." His expression darkened. "I should have intervened then. I'm sorry I didn't." Iris felt a lump form in her throat. She had spent so long being invisible, being hated, that kindness, even from a stranger, was disorienting. "What happens now?" she asked, changing the subject. "Those hunters won't give up." "No, they won't," Lucas agreed. "But neither will we." He offered her a slight smile. "That is, if you're willing to work with a disgraced engineer who's been hiding in a cave for half a decade." Despite everything, Iris found herself smiling back. "Depends. What exactly are you proposing?" "A partnership," Lucas said. "You need to understand what you are, what you can do. I need to understand the technology that created you. And both of us need to stop the consortium from capturing and exploiting more innocent people, hybrid or otherwise." It was the first time anyone had offered Iris a choice, had spoken to her as an equal rather than a mistake to be feared or a specimen to be collected. The novelty of it made her dizzy. "Why should I trust you?" she asked, needing to hear his answer even as something inside her already did trust him. Lucas considered her question seriously. "You shouldn't. Not completely, not yet. But I'm offering something no one else has. The chance to find answers, to help others like yourself, and to stop running." He extended his hand, scarred and calloused. "What do you say, Iris? Partners?" Iris looked at his outstretched hand, then at the cave around them, a sanctuary of sorts, filled with knowledge and possibilities. For the first time in her life, she felt a glimmer of hope, of purpose beyond mere survival. She took his hand. "Partners." In the darkness outside the cave, unbeknownst to either of them, a small drone hovered silently, its camera focused on the sealed entrance, miles away, in one of the hunters' vehicles. Alice watched the footage with narrowed eyes and a calculating smile. "Found you," she whispered. The days that followed were a revelation for Iris. Lucas's underground sanctuary wasn't just a hiding place. It was a treasure trove of information about the revelation and its aftermath. He had spent years collecting data, specimens, and technology, trying to piece together the puzzle of what had happened and why. "Most people think the revelation was an invasion," Lucas explained as he showed Iris his research. "But it wasn't, not exactly." They stood before a wall covered in photographs, news clippings, and handwritten notes. At the center was an image of what appeared to be an excavation site, where a massive, partially unearthed structure gleamed with an otherworldly light. "It was a dormant seed," Lucas continued, "planted thousands of years ago by a civilization that traveled through space, seeding compatible planets with their technology. When we dug it up and exposed it to our atmosphere, it activated." Iris studied the image, feeling an inexplicable connection to the alien structure. And that's what changed everything? Created hybrids like me? Lucas nodded. The technology was designed to adapt and evolve, integrating with the native life forms. In some cases, it fused with human DNA, creating hybrids. In others, it transformed the landscape, creating new ecosystems. He pointed to a series of photographs showing the altered landscapes, deserts blooming with crystalline formations, oceans glowing with bioluminescent patterns, forests where the trees had developed metallic bark. "But you're different," Lucas said, his gaze returning to Iris. "Most hybrids show physical changes, sometimes minor abilities, but nothing like what you can do. Your energy signature is unique." Iris looked down at her hands, remembering the light that had erupted from them in the village. "I don't even know what I did. It just happened." "That's what we need to figure out," Lucas said. "Not just what you can do, but how to control it. The hunters will be back, and next time they'll be prepared." Over the next weeks, they established a routine. Mornings were spent in physical training, Lucas teaching Iris combat techniques and survival skills. Afternoons were dedicated to understanding her abilities through careful experimentation. Evenings were for research and planning. Iris discovered that she could manipulate energy in various ways, creating light, interfering with electronic devices, even healing minor wounds. But the power was erratic, tied to her emotions in ways she couldn't fully control. "It's like trying to direct a river with my bare hands," she explained in frustration after another failed attempt to focus her abilities. "I can feel it flowing through me, but I can't channel it properly." Lucas, ever patient, handed her a cup of water. "You're trying too hard. Your abilities aren't separate from you. They're an extension of who you are." "And who am I exactly?" Iris asked bitterly. "A hybrid? A monster? A weapon?" "A person," Lucas said firmly. "A young woman with extraordinary gifts, who's been dealt a difficult hand. But what you become is your choice. Iris, no one else's." His words stayed with her, a beacon in the darkness of her self-doubt. Slowly, her control improved. She learned to summon the light at will, to direct it with increasing precision. But the more her abilities grew, the more questions emerged. "If I'm so special, why was I abandoned?" she asked one evening as they shared a simple meal. "My mother died, but surely someone knew what I was, what I could become." Lucas was silent for a long moment. "I've been meaning to show you something," he said finally. He rose and went to a locked cabinet in the corner of the cave. From it, he retrieved a weathered journal bound in faded leather. "I found this in an abandoned research outpost about a year ago," he explained, handling the journal as if it were made of glass. "It belonged to a scientist named Dr. Alara Chen, who was studying the effects of the revelation on human genetics." He opened the journal to a marked page and passed it to Iris. "Read this." Iris took the journal with trembling hands. The handwriting was elegant but hurried, as if the author had been racing against time. "Subject 7 continues to develop beyond our projections," she read aloud. "The integration of the alien genetic material is more complete than in any previous case. If my theory is correct, this child will not merely exhibit hybrid characteristics, but will serve as a living conduit, a bridge between our world and the technology that has transformed it." She looked up at Lucas, her heart pounding. "Is this about me?" He nodded. "Keep reading." "I cannot in good conscience continue this work under consortium supervision. Their intentions for Subject 7 and the others are too terrible to contemplate. I have made arrangements to escape with the child. We will seek refuge in the border settlements where the consortium's influence is weakest. I pray that by the time my daughter comes of age, this world will be ready to accept her for the miracle she is." Iris felt as if the ground had dropped from beneath her. "Dr. Alara Chen was my mother, a consortium scientist?" "She defected to save you," Lucas said gently. "She knew what they would do. if they discovered your true potential. But she died, Iris whispered, tears blurring her vision. She left me alone. Lucas placed a hand on her shoulder. She died protecting you. The journal entries continue for a few months after your birth. She was being hunted. The last entry. He hesitated. Tell me, Iris demanded. She knew she was running out of time. She wrote that she had encoded a message in your DNA, information about the alien technology, about your abilities, about how to prevent the consortium from weaponizing it. She believed that when you were ready, you would be able to access this knowledge instinctively. Iris closed the journal, her mind reeling. So I'm not just a hybrid, I'm a living database, a message in a bottle? You're whatever you choose to be, Lucas reminded her. But yes, you carry knowledge that could change everything. That's why the consortium wants you so badly. That's why we need to stay one step ahead of them. As if summoned by his words, an alarm sounded throughout the cave. Lucas rushed to a monitoring station, his expression grim. Proximity alert, he said. Multiple vehicles approaching from the north, hunters. Iris felt fear and anger surge within her in equal measure. How did they find us? Lucas was already gathering essential supplies and weapons. I don't know. Maybe they tracked our energy usage. Maybe they followed us from Meridian. It doesn't matter now. We need to move. Where? Iris asked, grabbing her own pack, always kept ready for a quick escape. There's another facility, Lucas explained as they hurried toward a concealed exit at the back of the cave, about 50 miles east. In the jungle zone, it's more secure, better hidden. As they reached the exit, a dull explosion rocked the cave. Dust and small fragments of rock rained down from the ceiling. They're blasting their way in, Lucas said grimly. We don't have much time. He pressed his palm against a hidden panel, and a section of the wall slid open, revealing a narrow tunnel that sloped upward. This will take us to a concealed exit about half a mile from here, he explained. There's a vehicle cached nearby. Another explosion, closer this time. The lights flickered, and Iris could hear the sound of debris falling. Go, Lucas urged, pushing her toward the tunnel. I'll be right behind you. Iris hesitated. What are you doing? Buying us time, he said, moving back toward the main area of the cave, and making sure they don't get their hands on my research. Go, Iris, trust me. Reluctantly, Iris entered the tunnel. She had traveled about halfway when a massive explosion shook the entire structure. The force of it knocked her off her feet, and for a terrifying moment, she thought the tunnel would collapse around her. When the shaking subsided, she scrambled to her feet and hurried back toward the cave entrance, fear for Lucas overriding all else. Lucas, she called, coughing as dust filled her lungs. Lucas, answer me! The tunnel had partially collapsed, but she could still squeeze through the narrow opening. The sight that greeted her made her blood run cold. The cave was in ruins. Equipment lay shattered, books and papers scattered everywhere. A gaping hole had been blasted in the main entrance, through which sunlight and dust motes streamed, and there, pinned beneath a fallen support beam, lay Lucas. No! Iris rushed to his side, assessing the damage. The beam was massive, crushing his lower body. Blood pooled beneath him, and his breathing was labored. Told you. To go, he managed, his voice barely audible. I'm not leaving you, Iris insisted, her hands hovering over the beam as she tried to figure out how to move it without causing him further harm. You have to, Lucas coughed, blood speckling his lips. They'll be inside any minute, the information. It's too important, you're too important. Iris could hear voices now, the hunters calling to each other as they prepared to enter the cave. She looked at Lucas, tears streaming down her face. I can't do this alone, she whispered. Lucas reached up with a trembling hand, touching her cheek. You were never alone, Iris. Your mother made sure of that. Everything you need is inside you. His eyes, though clouded with pain, were intense. "Promise me you'll reach the eastern facility. The coordinates are in your pack. Promise me you won't let them take you." Iris nodded, her throat too tight for words. "Now go," Lucas urged, "and remember, you choose who you are, no one else." With a final agonizing look, Iris turned and fled back into the tunnel. Behind her, she could hear the hunters entering the cave, their boots crunching on debris. She heard Alice's voice, sharp with command, and then Lucas's defiant response, buying her time even in his final moments. Tears blinded her as she emerged from the hidden exit, high on a rocky outcropping overlooking the desert. The sun was setting, painting the landscape in the same crimson hues as the day she had first met Lucas. It seemed like a lifetime ago. Following his instructions, she found the cached vehicle, a rugged, solar-powered motorcycle designed for desert travel. As she prepared to leave, a final explosion echoed from the direction of the cave. She knew without looking that Lucas had enacted some final failsafe, denying the hunters their prize even in defeat. "I will make this mean something," she vowed, starting the motorcycle's silent engine. "I promise you that." With a last glance at the plume of smoke rising from what had been her first real home, Iris accelerated into the gathering darkness, the coordinates of the eastern facility her only guide. The journey east was a gauntlet of natural and human dangers. The border between desert and jungle was a shifting, unstable zone where the alien influence had created a bewildering hybrid ecosystem. Crystalline cacti sprouted alongside bioluminescent vines. Predators with metallic scales stalked prey that could phase through solid matter. The weather itself was unpredictable, scorching heat giving way to flash floods of glowing rain that burned like acid. Iris navigated it all with grim determination, the loss of Lucas a physical ache in her chest. She rationed her supplies carefully, hunted when necessary, and avoided the scattered settlements that dotted the border zone. Each night, she studied the journal Lucas had given her, searching for clues about her mother and the knowledge supposedly encoded in her DNA. On the fifth day, as she approached the coordinates of the eastern facility, she sensed she was being followed. It was nothing she could pinpoint, just an instinct, a prickling at the back of her neck that had kept her alive all these years. She abandoned the motorcycle in a ravine, covering it with vegetation, and continued on foot, taking a circuitous route that would be difficult to track. The jungle grew denser, the alien influence more pronounced. Trees with bark like burnished copper towered overhead, their leaves translucent and faintly glowing. Strange, chittering creatures scurried away at her approach. As night fell, Iris found herself in a clearing dominated by a massive tree unlike any she had seen before. Its trunk was wider than a house, its surface a seamless blend of organic matter and what appeared to be circuitry, veins of glowing blue light pulsing beneath a skin of metallic bark. The sight of it resonated with something deep inside her, as if she were recognizing a distant relative. Approaching cautiously, she placed her hand against the trunk. The effect was immediate and overwhelming. Energy surged through her, not painful but intense, like diving into a swift-flowing river. Images flooded her mind, stars, distant worlds, ancient beings of light and energy, a great journey across the void of space. "Mother," she thought, not knowing why. "I am here." The clearing around her began to shimmer, reality itself seeming to fold and unfold. When the distortion cleared, Iris found herself standing before what appeared to be a doorway in the trunk of the great tree. Without hesitation, she stepped through. Inside was a space that defied comprehension, larger than the exterior should allow, filled with technology that blended seamlessly with organic elements. It was like standing inside a living computer, or perhaps a mechanical organism. Soft blue light suffused everything, reminding her of the sanctuary Lucas had created. "Luke," she whispered, grief washing over her anew. "I wish you could see this." "He cannot," came a voice from everywhere and nowhere, "but you can show him when the time is right." Iris spun around, searching for the source of the voice. "Who's there? Show yourself." "I cannot show what is already shown," the voice replied, somehow both feminine and masculine, both ancient and new. "I am the interface, the connection between worlds, and you, Iris, are the keys." A holographic display appeared before her, showing what appeared to be a DNA strand. As she watched, certain segments lit up, forming patterns that somehow looked familiar. "Your mother encoded me within you," the interface explained, "a fragment of the greater consciousness that spans galaxies. She hoped that when you were ready, you would find your way here, to the heart." "The heart?" Iris asked, struggling to process the impossible reality confronting her. "The primary node of the network that now spans your world. What your people call the revelation was merely the awakening of dormant technology, seeded here millennia ago by those you might call my creators." Iris sank to her knees, overwhelmed. Why? Why seed Earth with this technology? Why create hybrids like me? "Evolution," the interface replied simply. "My creators believed in guiding species with potential toward a greater understanding of the universe. The technology adapts to the native life forms, creating bridges like you that can access and utilize the network." "But the consortium," Iris said, "they're hunting hybrids, experimenting on them. They want to weaponize this technology." The holographic display shifted, showing images of consortium facilities where hybrids were held captive, subjected to cruel tests. Iris looked away, sickened. "Yes," the interface acknowledged, "this was not the intended outcome. The technology was meant to uplift, not to divide or destroy. Your mother understood this. She hoped that you would become not just a bridge between species, but a guardian of the network's true purpose." Iris thought of Lucas, of his belief in her, and of the village children she had risked everything to save. "What can I do? I'm just one person." "You are the key," the interface repeated. "Within you lies the power to recalibrate the network, to direct its evolution. You can help shape what your world becomes." Before Iris could respond, an alarm sounded, not an external noise, but a sensation inside her mind, a warning from the network itself. "Intruders approach," the interface announced. "Humans with technology designed to detect network energy. They have followed your trail." Hunters. Alice and her team had tracked her across the border zone. Panic flared briefly, then gave way to a cold clarity. She was tired of running, tired of hiding what she was. "Can you show me their exact location?" Iris asked, rising to her feet. The holographic display shifted again, showing a squad of hunters moving through the jungle toward the clearing. At their head was Alice, her expression determined, a new and more sophisticated scanner in her hand. "I need to stop them," Iris said. "Can you help me?" "The network responds to your will. Key," the interface replied. "But be warned, your power here is magnified. Control is essential." Iris nodded, thinking of Lucas's lessons on focus and intention. She closed her eyes, feeling the energy of the network flowing through and around her. When she opened them again, she knew exactly what to do. She stepped back through the doorway into the clearing, which now pulsed with faint blue light that mirrored the beating of her heart. Positioning herself at the center, she waited as the hunters emerged from the jungle. Alice stopped short at the sight of her, surprise briefly replacing the triumph on her face. Well, the hybrid girl, all grown up and waiting for us. That's unusually accommodating." The hunters spread out, weapons trained on Iris. There were 8 of them, all bearing the same circuitry tattoos as their leader, all armed with tech designed to subdue beings like her. "This ends now," Iris said calmly. "You will leave this place and never return. You will stop hunting hybrids for the consortium." Alice laughed. "And why would we do that? Do you have any idea what you're worth to them? What all of your kind are worth?" "I do," Iris replied, "and that's why I'm giving you this one chance to walk away, to choose a different path." Something in her tone made Alice hesitate, her smile faltering. "You've changed," she observed. "Found some backbone out here in the wilderness, but you're still outnumbered and outgunned." "Am I?" Iris raised her hands, and the clearing erupted with light, not the defensive burst she had used in the village, but a controlled, deliberate display of power. The ground beneath the hunter's feet began to glow, patterns of circuitry spreading outward from where she stood. "What the hell is this?" one of the hunters demanded, backing away. "The network," Iris explained, her voice eerily calm. "It's everywhere, connecting everything, even you." She looked directly at Alice. "Even those tattoos you wear as status symbols. Did you know they're based on actual network patterns? You've marked yourselves as part of something you don't understand." Alice's hand went to her neck, where the intricate circuitry tattoos pulsed faintly in response to the energy filling the clearing. "You're bluffing," she said, but uncertainty had crept into her voice. "I'm not," Iris replied. "I could activate those patterns right now. Send a surge through each of you that would fry your nervous systems. Is that what you want? Is that the choice you're making?" It was a bluff. Of course, Iris had no intention of killing anyone, regardless of what they had done, but the hunters didn't know that, and the display of power was very real. One of the hunters dropped his weapon, backing away. Then another. Alice stood her ground, conflict evident on her face. "You don't understand what's at stake," she said. "The consortium isn't just collecting hybrids for profit. They believe the network is a threat to humanity's survival, that it's changing us against our will." "And what do you believe?" Iris asked, genuinely curious. Alice's gaze dropped to her tattoos, which continued to pulse in sync with the patterns on the ground. "I believe in survival, in adapting." She looked up, meeting Iris's eyes. "My brother was one of the first hybrids. The consortium took him when he was 10. I joined the hunters to find him." The revelation hit Iris like a physical blow. "You're hunting your own brother's kind?" "I'm trying to find him," Alice corrected. "The only way I could think of, become what I hated to get close enough to save what I loved." The energy in the clearing dimmed slightly as Iris processed this. "And have you found him?" Alice shook her head. "No, but I've found others like him, treated them better than most hunters would, made sure they survived the consortium's tests." Iris studied her, sensing the truth in her words. "There's another way," she said softly. "A better way to find your brother and help others like him." "What way?" "Join me," Iris offered. "Help me understand the consortium from the inside. Help me free the hybrids they've captured and show the world that we're not a threat. We're the future, the bridge to what comes next." Alice looked skeptical. "And why would I trust you? You were ready to electrocute us all a minute ago." "No," Iris said. "I was ready to show you what I could do, so you would listen. There's a difference." She lowered her hands, and the patterns on the ground faded. "I'm giving you a choice, Alice, the same choice you never gave me or the village children." For a long moment, Alice was silent, her expression unreadable. Then, slowly, she holstered her weapon. "If I help you," she said carefully, "I want guarantees. My brother comes first, and my team goes free." "Agreed," Iris nodded. "On one condition, no more hunting, not for the consortium, not for anyone." Alice glanced at her remaining hunters, most of whom looked relieved at the prospect of walking away from this encounter alive. "Deal," she said finally, "but this had better not be a trick." "It's not," Iris assured her. "It's a new beginning, for all of us." As if in response to her words, The great tree behind her shimmered, its doorway reappearing. Alice and the hunters gasped in unison. "What is that?" Alice whispered. "The heart," Iris replied, "and it has much to show us." In the days that followed, an uneasy alliance formed. Most of Alice's hunters chose to leave, taking the offered chance at freedom, but Alice herself stayed, driven by the possibility of finding her brother. Iris showed her the interior of the heart, explained what she had learned from the interface, and together they began planning how to infiltrate the consortium's main research facility. The interface provided detailed maps and security information, gleaned from the network's connections to consortium technology. Alice contributed insider knowledge of protocols and personnel. Slowly, a viable plan took shape. "We can't do this alone," Alice pointed out as they reviewed the facility's defenses. "Even with your abilities amplified by the heart, we're talking about a fortress with hundreds of guards and researchers." Iris nodded, having reached the same conclusion. "We need allies, other hybrids, if possible, people who understand what's at stake." "There's a settlement," Alice said slowly, "about 100 miles west of here. It's not on any maps, not even the consortium's. A sanctuary for hybrids and their supporters. I've redirected potential captures there a few times, when I could do it without raising suspicion." Iris looked at her with new respect. "You've been playing a dangerous game longer than I realized." Alice shrugged, uncomfortable with the acknowledgement. "I did what I could while looking for my brother. It wasn't enough." "It was something," Iris countered, "and now we can do more." She turned to the holographic display. "Interface. Can you establish communication with this settlement?" "I can attempt to locate network nodes in that region," the interface replied, "but direct communication may not be possible if they are deliberately avoiding detection." "Try," Iris urged. Tell them the key is calling, and that it's time to come home." While they waited for a response, Iris continued exploring the heart, learning more about her unique connection to the network. Under the interface's guidance, she discovered abilities she hadn't imagined possible. She could sense other hybrids across vast distances, could manipulate technology connected to the network with a thought, could even begin to decode the knowledge her mother had encoded in her DNA. "Your mother was brilliant," the interface told her during one such session. She understood the network's potential before anyone else. She knew that a human hybrid child raised with compassion and understanding would approach the power differently than one shaped by fear and control. "She died protecting me," Iris said softly, "but I still don't understand why she joined the consortium in the first place." "To change it from within," the interface explained, "just as you now seek to do. She believed that humanity and the network could coexist, could benefit each other. The consortium perverted that vision, seeing only weapons and power." Iris absorbed this, feeling a new connection to the mother she had never known. "I won't let her sacrifice be in vain," she vowed. On the 7th day, as Iris and Alice were finalizing their infiltration plan, the interface announced, "A response has been received. A group approaches from the west, hybrids and their allies." Excitement and apprehension fluttered in Iris's chest. "How many?" 12 individuals. They are cautious but curious. They say they have heard whispers of the key for years. A hybrid who would unite their kind and reveal their true purpose." Iris exchanged a startled look with Alice. "I didn't know there were legends about me." "Your mother was thorough," the interface observed. "She seeded the idea among trusted allies before her death, ensuring that when you were ready, others would be ready to follow." The thought was both comforting and terrifying. Iris had spent her life alone, rejected, and now she was expected to lead. "Do I even have a choice?" she wondered aloud. "You always have a choice," the interface reminded her. "That is what makes you the key. Not your abilities, but your capacity to choose how to use them. When the group from the sanctuary arrived, Iris was struck by their diversity. Some hybrids showed obvious physical alterations: scaled skin, extra limbs, eyes that glowed with inner light. Others, like her, had more subtle signs of their dual nature. Among them were also unaltered humans who had chosen to align themselves with the hybrid cause. Their leader was a tall, serene woman with intricate patterns of light flowing beneath her dark skin. She introduced herself as Lyra. "We have waited for this day," she told Iris, her voice melodic and strange. "The day when the key would call us home." Iris felt the weight of their expectations like a physical burden. "I'm not sure I'm what you're waiting for," she admitted. "I'm still learning, still figuring out what all this means." Lyra smiled. "That is why you are the key. Those who seek power rarely deserve it. Those who question are more likely to use it wisely." With the arrival of the sanctuary group, the plan to infiltrate the consortium facility accelerated. Each hybrid brought unique abilities that could be utilized. Some could interface directly with technology. Others could alter their appearance to pass as unaltered humans. Still others possessed enhanced strength or sensory perception. As they prepared, Iris found herself drawn to a quiet young man named Noah, whose hybrid nature manifested as an ability to see patterns and connections invisible to others. "You're afraid," he observed as they worked together on mapping potential escape routes. "Not of the mission, but of what comes after." Iris looked at him, startled by his perception. "Is it that obvious?" "Only to me," he assured her. "The patterns of your thoughts leave traces in the network. You fear becoming something you don't recognize, something that might forget what it means to be human." "Yes," Iris admitted, relieved to voice the fear aloud. "All this power, all this responsibility. What if it changes me? What if I become like the consortium, convinced that my vision is the only right one?" Noah considered this. "The fact that you ask the question suggests you'll find the right answer." He pointed to the map they were studying. "Look at this. Multiple paths to the same destination. There's never just one right way forward." His simple wisdom stayed with her as the day of the mission approached. The plan was complex but elegant. Alice would return to the consortium, claiming to have valuable intelligence about a group of powerful hybrids. This would grant her access to the main facility. Once inside, she would deploy devices designed by Noah and the other tech-savvy hybrids to create temporary blind spots in the security system. Meanwhile, Iris, connected to the heart, would use the network to disable key systems and guide the infiltration team, composed of Lyra and 3 others with combat abilities, through the facility to the detention areas where hybrids were held. Among them, they hoped, was Alice's brother. The night before the mission, Iris couldn't sleep. She wandered through the heart, its soft blue light comforting in its constancy. "You should rest," the interface advised. "Tomorrow will require all your strength." "I know," Iris sighed, "but every time I close my eyes, I see everything that could go wrong. People could die tomorrow because of my plan, my decisions." "Yes," the interface agreed, surprisingly blunt. "That is the burden of leadership. But consider also how many might live because of your actions, how many might find freedom, purpose, community." Iris thought of Lucas, of his belief in her potential. "He would have been proud of this," she murmured, "of what we're trying to do." "The engineer? Yes, I believe he would. His data indicates a strong ethical framework and a genuine desire to help others." Iris blinked in surprise. "His data? What do you mean?" The holographic display shifted, showing an image that made Iris's heart skip. Lucas, bloody but alive, being transported on a stretcher into a consortium vehicle. "He lives," the interface confirmed. "The hunters took him for questioning after you escaped. He is being held at the same facility you plan to infiltrate." Joy and fear warred within Iris. Why didn't you tell me this sooner? You did not ask, the interface replied simply, and the mission parameters were already optimal for maximum success. This information merely provides additional motivation. Iris wasn't sure whether to laugh or cry at the interface's coldly logical approach. Yes, it certainly does, she agreed. We're bringing everyone home tomorrow, everyone. The dawn broke gray and misty over the jungle, as if nature itself was providing cover for their mission. The infiltration team departed first, with Alice to establish position near the facility. Iris remained at the heart, where her connection to the network was strongest. Noah stayed with her, his ability to see patterns serving as an early warning system for unexpected complications. The rest of the sanctuary group prepared for the arrival of freed hybrids, setting up medical stations and securing the perimeter. Remember, Iris told the team before they left, this isn't just about freeing captives. It's about showing the world a different way forward. Minimal casualties, even among consortium personnel. We're not starting a war, we're ending one. As the appointed hour approached, Iris settled into a meditative state, her consciousness expanding through the network until she could sense the facility, a dense cluster of technology and energy signatures, miles distant but clear as a beacon to her heightened perception. Alice has made contact, Noah reported, his eyes unfocused as he tracked the patterns. She's being escorted to the security office. Iris nodded, not breaking her concentration. She could feel Alice's presence now, a familiar node moving through the facility's network. Around her, other signatures pulsed, some bright and strong, others dim and erratic. The captive hybrids, she realized with a surge of anger. Some were barely clinging to life. Deploying countermeasures now, Noah murmured. Security systems in the West Wing are going dark. Now, Iris sent a pulse through the network, amplifying the effect. Camera feeds froze, electronic locks disengaged, alarm systems went dormant. Through it all, she maintained her awareness of the team's positions, guiding them with gentle nudges of information. 3 guards approaching from the left corridor, she projected to Lyra. Detention Block C, 2nd level. 20 hybrids held. The rescue was proceeding smoothly, too smoothly. As Iris directed the team toward the high security area where the most valuable hybrids were kept, she sensed a change in the facility's energy patterns. Something was adapting, learning, countering their intrusion. Noah, she said sharply, something's wrong. The network is shifting. Noah's expression became alarmed. They've activated some kind of isolated system. It's generating interference patterns, trying to cut off your connection. Iris pushed harder, fighting to maintain her link to the team. Hurry, she urged them. We're losing our advantage. She felt Lyra's acknowledgement, sensed the team accelerating toward their final objective, and then, abruptly, a new presence entered her awareness, cold, calculating, and somehow familiar. Another hybrid, Noah whispered, his face pale, but different, weaponized, fully integrated with consortium tech. Before Iris could respond, pain lanced through her mind as the hostile presence attacked her connection. Images flashed before her, a laboratory, scientists in white coats, a child screaming as machines fused with his flesh. Alice's brother, Iris gasped, understanding flooding her. They turned him into a weapon against his own kind. With a supreme effort, she pushed back against the attack, sending not force but empathy, understanding, shared pain. We've come for you, she projected. Your sister is here. You're not alone anymore. The hostile presence faltered, confusion rippling through its cold purpose. In that moment of hesitation, Iris sensed another consciousness joining the struggle. Alice, recognizing her brother's signature in the network, reaching out with decades of pent-up love and grief. They've found him, Noah confirmed, tracking the patterns. But security protocols are reactivating. They're going to be trapped if they don't move now. Iris made a split-second decision. Drawing on the heart's power, she sent a massive surge through the facility's network, not to destroy, but to reveal. Every screen, every display, every interface suddenly showed the same images: the captive hybrids, the experiments, the truth of what the consortium had been doing in the name of humanity's protection. "What are you doing?" Noah asked, alarmed by the expenditure of energy. "Changing the narrative," Iris replied through gritted teeth. "Making sure everyone sees, everyone knows, no more secrets." As the facility's personnel absorbed the shocking revelations, confusion and discord spread. Some abandoned their posts, others tried to help the captives, still others moved to stop the intruders. In the chaos, Lyra's team made their way to the exit point, bringing with them not just the freed hybrids, but also one critical, unexpected addition: Lucas, weak but alive, supported between two rescuers. And at the center of it all, Alice and a gaunt young man with machinery fused to his skull, her brother, Eli, finally found after all these years. Iris maintained the connection as long as she could, guiding the team back through the facility's now chaotic corridors. When they were safely clear, she allowed herself to collapse, exhausted but triumphant. "They're coming home," Noah told her, his voice gentle with understanding. All of them. The days following the raid were a blur of activity. The freed hybrids needed medical attention and psychological support. Eli, in particular, required specialized care to begin the process of separating him from the consortium technology that had been forced upon him. Lucas, though weakened by his captivity, threw himself into this work, his engineering skills proving invaluable. The consortium, meanwhile, was in disarray. The public exposure of their experiments had triggered investigations and defections. Many of the scientists and security personnel who had witnessed the truth firsthand began questioning their allegiance. Some even made their way to the heart, offering information and assistance. Through it all, Iris found herself in an unexpected role, not just as a leader in battle, but as a mediator, a healer, a bridge between different factions. Humans who feared the network's influence came to her with questions. Hybrids struggling with their abilities sought her guidance. Even former consortium officials, looking for redemption, asked for her counsel. "You've become what your mother hoped you would be," Lucas told her one evening as they sat beneath the great tree that housed the heart. His face was still thin from captivity, but his eyes were bright with pride. "A true bridge between worlds." Iris smiled, though the weight of responsibility still felt heavy at times. "I'm trying, but sometimes I wonder if I'm doing the right thing, making the right choices." "That's how you know you are," Lucas assured her. "The moment you stop questioning is the moment you should worry." A comfortable silence fell between them, broken only by the soft sounds of the jungle and the distant voices of the growing community that had formed around the heart. "I thought I'd lost you," Iris said finally, voicing what she had been afraid to acknowledge. "When I left you in the cave." "You did what you had to do," Lucas replied simply. "What I asked you to do, and you came back for me, just like I knew you would." Iris looked at him, this scarred man who had been the first to see her as more than a monster or a mistake. "I'll always come back for you," she promised. "You're the first person who ever made me feel like I had a home." Lucas's expression softened. "Home isn't a place, Iris. It's the people who accept you exactly as you are." As if to emphasize his point, a group of children ran past, some hybrid, some human, all playing together without fear or prejudice. Among them was a small girl with patches of translucent skin and eyes that glowed in the gathering dusk, a younger version of Iris herself, but growing up surrounded by acceptance instead of fear. "We're building something here," Iris observed. "Something new. A bridge. Lucas agreed. Just like you. 3 months after the raid on the consortium facility, representatives from settlements across the border zone gathered at the heart. Some were entirely human, others predominantly hybrid, most a mix of both. They came seeking understanding, alliance, and a glimpse of the future Iris and her growing community represented. Standing before them in the clearing, with the great tree towering behind her, Iris felt a sense of completion, not an ending, but a beginning. The journey that had started with a rejected child hiding in the ruins had led to this moment of possibility. "We stand at a crossroads," she told the assembled representatives. "For too long, fear has driven us apart. Fear of difference, fear of change, fear of what we might become, but fear is a poor foundation for the future." She gestured to the diverse community around her, Lucas, Alice and her healing brother, Lyra, Noah, and dozens of others who had found their way to the heart. "Look at what we've built here," she continued, "not by denying our differences, but by embracing them. Not by fighting the changes the revelation brought, but by guiding them toward healing instead of harm." A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. "I was born to be rejected," Iris said, her voice clear and strong. "Cast out because I embodied what people feared most, a future they couldn't control, couldn't understand. But in that rejection, I found strength. In isolation, I found purpose." She looked at Lucas, whose eyes shone with unshed tears of pride. "And in one human's heart, I found my first real home, the acceptance that all of us, hybrid and human alike, are seeking." As she spoke, the great tree behind her began to glow with soft blue light, responding to her emotions, to the truth of her words. Similar illumination appeared throughout the clearing as the network recognized and amplified the moment's significance. "This is the gift we offer you today," Iris concluded. "Not domination, not separation, but integration. A new kind of community where every unique ability, every perspective, every life is valued." The network wasn't sent to replace humanity, but to elevate it, to connect it to something greater than itself. She extended her hands, palms up, and light blossomed above them, a miniature model of the world as it could be. Hybrids and humans and the network itself coexisting in harmony. "This is our future," she said simply, "if we choose it together." One by one, the representatives stepped forward to signal their agreement, their willingness to try this new path. As each commitment was made, the network responded. The patterns of light in the clearing shifting and expanding, connecting everyone present in a web of shared purpose. Later, as the diplomatic formalities gave way to celebration, Iris found a moment of quiet with Lucas at the edge of the clearing. "How does it feel," he asked, "being the bridge that connects worlds?" Iris considered the question, watching the diverse gathering, former enemies becoming allies, strangers becoming friends, a community forming before her eyes. "It feels like coming home," she said finally, "not to a place, but to a purpose, to the person I was always meant to be." Lucas smiled, taking her hand in his. "Your mother would be proud." "I think she knew," Iris replied softly. "Somehow, she knew that rejection would shape me, would prepare me for this role, that I would find my way here, to this moment." Together, they looked out at the future they were building, a world where difference was strength, where technology served life rather than controlling it, where bridges connected what had once been divided. And in that moment, Iris truly understood what it meant to find a home in someone's heart, not just in Lucas's acceptance or in her growing community's embrace, but in her own self-acceptance, her own heart finally at peace with all that she was and all she could be. She had been born to be rejected, but in that rejection, she had found her true purpose, to ensure that no one, human or hybrid, would ever feel as alone as she once had, to build a world where everyone could find their home.